I would love for you to kind of double click, and TeamSense would be a fantastic example, is like walk us through how that proof of concept works and like how do you get comfortable as an HR leader with a new technology, especially a new company like us, right? Like, there's a famous saying of like, nobody got fired for buying, Dell or UKG or like you name it. So like how do you get comfortable with a company like us in your process to be able to innovate?
Yeah. I mean, so TeamSense kind of came to us through one of our HR partners in the field, which is, something that we love. The one of our locations was seeing a problem, right? We had a very antiquated call-in feature, if you will, where typical, I'm going to call a phone number and tell you I'm not coming to work that morning. And maybe somebody checked that, answering machine, at some point during the day, but it was after the shift had already started, right? And so, my HR team is going to, the floor supervisor and being like, hey, you're going to be out 5 people today. And he's looking at him like, yeah, I know. I'm experiencing this. The shift started 2 hours ago. That information would have been helpful 2 hours ago before the shift actually started. And so I think that's how these partnerships form, right? We have a problem in the field and then we are trying to find that solution. And in this case, what brought Team Sense to Kenco is we had an HR team member that was like, I think this might be a good technology for us to try. And so that's what we did. We tried it at one of our locations that was struggling, to get that kind of to know what was going to happen before the day happened. And as an operational manager, knowing what you're walking into is just a huge part of being successful for that day, right? You have an understanding of, okay, I have 15 trucks that are coming in that day that need to be unloaded. I have X number of trucks that are going to need to leave that day that need to get loaded. And you are expecting your workforce to show up and be there to help you accomplish that. And when you don't know what you're walking into, it's really hard to flex labor around the building if you have enough labor in the building to be able to do that. It's also, you're calling in people at the absolute last minute as opposed to, maybe giving some people a little bit of fair warning, being like, hey, we already know, we're going to have 5 people calling out this morning. Let's go ahead and try and, identify the resources that we have that maybe are on second shift that can come into first shift or first shift that can maybe stay a little bit later and help out on second shift. We're able to do that so much better because of that partnership with TeamSense. But I think, going back to your question, Sheila, it also means, at least again, going back to the data from my perspective and being able to sell it, right? I mean, going back to my operational leaders and being like, okay, so here's a technology that we've deployed. Here's what our metrics look like prior to kind of this technology being deployed. And here's what it looks like after that technology is deployed. And so, you have ideally these really concrete, visible metrics that you're seeing tangible improvement on that somehow drive results to your bottom line, right? And so, for us, a lot of that is about turnover or overtime and productivity. And so we're able to kind of get those tangible metrics to be able to say, this is working. Okay, so maybe we broaden the pilot to kind of include more locations to make sure that we've gotten, enough data to feel comfortable. And then once we typically do that, it's then opening it up to the entire organization.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. You guys did a fantastic job of setting up the pilot and then making sure that you had clear metrics that you were tracking, and kind of following it on the QDIP board. So it's pretty cool because it wasn't like something additional that you were tracking or something you were already tracking.